Oh yes, this project is nuts. Big time nuts. And just wait till you see what's inside of these things.
Well, I knew I wanted to create a giant walnut, but I wasn't sure exactly what size. So by doing the art digitally, I could complete it and then decide on how big I wanted it to be. Digital sculpting is a lot of fun. You see me using Cinema 4D here, but there are other programs that do the same sort of thing, including ZBrush. That's a very popular one. Well, I finally decided on a size, so I was ready to 3D print it. I'll be making silicone molds from these 3D prints, and those are going to take a while. So in the meantime, I figured I should experiment with some casting materials. I wanted something that would be similar to a walnut shell in the way it broke and shattered, so I figured water putty was a good place to start. I added acrylic paint for color, and I also put in some real sawdust for texture. I recycled some old plastic containers as my test molds, and I also experimented with different consistencies of the material. Water putty is pretty versatile. Time for the crush test. I knew that sanding wasn't going to be much of an option to fill in these 3D printed artifacts, so I figured I was just going to have to fill it in with primer. After several coats, it was looking pretty smooth. I watched several tutorials about how to make silicone molds, and there was a recommendation to use crystal clear on the originals. I made some real walnut sawdust to go with my water putty recipe. I dimensioned my mold box to be as economical as possible. I reclaimed the particle board from an old IKEA bookcase. Originally, I was going to hot glue all these pieces together, but then I decided to spend the time and put screws in so I could take it apart more easily. Even though the melamine surface on this particle board is kind of thin and cheap, it really turned out to make a really good surface for a mold box. Over the years, I've realized something very important about saving scraps. Well, they do come in handy, but the other thing is you have to remember that you have them. This is when I realized there was some wasted space in the mold box, so I decided to make some wooden wedges to take up some of the volume. In my CAD application, I was able to calculate the volume of the mold box and then subtract the volume of the 3D model. That gave me the remaining space that would be taken up with the silicone for the mold. I chose this mold release because it was recommended by Smooth-On as being compatible with their silicone. So making molds is all about volume, and of course these packages are labeled by weight. The included data sheet says that each pound will fill 20.6 cubic inches, so each kit is just under 58. And I had already predetermined my mold volume, so I rounded high to allow for waste. That came out to be 2.5 kits worth of material. Although I consider the Smooth-On product to be high quality, I found a couple of things about their packaging to be quite annoying. The warning to stir thoroughly is marked all over the packaging, but doing this is way easier said than done. It was obvious to me that the material had settled and separated in a container, so the stirring is very important. If anybody out there has a great way of doing this, please let me know in the comments. I also found it difficult to get the material out of the containers, so this is the only way I could figure out how to do it, by leaving them sit upside down for a while. I was advised repeatedly in the Smooth-On tutorials to mix A and B thoroughly, and it takes some work. Even though I had created some bubbles when I was blending the two parts together, by pouring it in slowly and from one side and letting it flow around the object, most of the bubbles didn't show up in the final mold. And my calculations came out just right. This was my very first experience working with Smooth-On products, and I have to say I was very impressed. Time to get to work on the water putty. Oh, and look at that beautiful walnut sawdust. There will be links to the materials and tools that I use in this project down in the description. They are affiliate links and they really help support my channel, so I really appreciate it if you use them. As the putty was hardening, I figured I had some time to make my walnut shavings that would be my nut filler. I ended up casting these 4 molds twice, which gave me 8 half shells and 4 finished walnuts. I was amazed at how easy these demolded. I just reached in and pulled them out. This wood rasp is one of my oldest and most favorite tools. I'll put a link down below. I noticed that real walnuts have a little bit of a sheen to them, so I finished these off with a satin finish. Well, did you guess? Walnuts inside of walnuts.
Okay, well, I don't know how to juggle, but I did want to let you know that I made these for a friend of mine, and they might just show up on the internet again, so keep your eyes open for that. And if you really like this video, I would appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend. Maybe they'd like to watch it. And also, if you're a subscriber, make sure to hit the little bell button, because then you'll be notified when my new videos come out. So, as always, take care, and we'll see you next time. not working.